Hey guys, it's me, Chris Webb. Yeah, I'm working on a Sunday, and I'm working on my birthday. Only because I want to. But recently there was a question about finish nailers and trim, and I thought I'd make a video about my 2 cents worth, give my opinion. Um, some guys use 16 gauge nailers. I just never had one. I didn't come up using one. The nails are thin. They seem to hold okay. But they're thin. They wander off. They can curl out on you more so than the 15s. I just always used a 15 gauge nail. 15 gauge nail is pretty, it's all pneumatic nails aren't really the same gauge as, a hand-driven comparable nail. They're a little bit thinner. But the 15 gauge nail, I usually use for trim, for baseboard, for door casing, for pre-hung doors, any kind of, decent sized trim work. I use the 15 gauge nailer. This is what I have. It looks big. It's not. I mean, it's a finish nailer. That's what it does. It drives 15 gauge nails from 1.5 to 2.5 inches. And I usually use about a 2.5 inch nail, or a 2 inch nail for, basic, standard, colonial type trim, that kind of thing. I use it for baseboard. I use it for door casing. I use it to hang pre-hung doors. The 16 gauge, I think, is too light to hang pre-hung doors. I never used one. The 15 gauge doesn't make that much of a hole to fill. And the nail's a lot, stouter. That's the go-to nailer I use for trim. 15 gauge nailer. This one's, has the DA coalition, and I forget the Bostitch. I think it's FN coalition. Bostitch and certain brands are a little bit, they're collated a little differently, so the angle's a little different. I've just always stuck with the Senko, Porter Cable, DeWalt, Bostitch is really the only one I think is a little different. This is a terrifically, I've been real happy with this gun. It's, it's done its job really well. And it has a built-in pencil sharpener. This is what I use to secure casing and baseboard to framing. I think anything less, 16 gauge is probably okay for baseboard and casing. 18 gauge, no. It's just way too thin. With seasonal changes and humidity in houses and, temperature swings and stuff like that, I just think an 18 gauge nail for anything but small decorative trim is just too light. That being said, I do use the 18 gauge because it's, this is called a brad nailer. It's basically shoots brads, and brads are in general too light for, regular moldings and, casing and that kind of thing. This particular model shoots them from like 5/8 to 2 inches. I know that the video quality will downgrade, but I mean, that's really just basically a brad. I mean, and traditional trim, you would use these for thinner trim and that kind of thing. I do use this for casing doors. The way I learned to do it is 15 gauge into the framing, and then you put like a brad at the edge of the casing into the door jamb and hold that tight. So 18 gauge is definitely useful for, you know, scotia moldings, bed moldings, to fasten the narrow edge of casing, that kind of thing. I don't use it as a workhorse for trim in general. I prefer the 15 gauge nailer, or, you know, some guys choose to use a 16. That's their choice. I just came up using the 15 gauge nail. So that's my opinion, my 2 cents worth. And, you know, hope you guys have a great Sunday. Bye.